Is COVID-19 an accidental conspiracy? I'm going to go on about this more, but just starting the question. For the next couple of slides, I'm going to be putting things in perspective as far as percentage of people who get it in COVID-19, CFR rates, and so forth. Well, CFRs will come later on, but I'm going to put in the amount of people getting it and the amount of people in that particular town and just put in more perspective so it won't be going so overboard over it, at least in my opinion. I'm going to start now. New York has a population of over 19 million people. The number of people affected by COVID-19 is at 10,000 at this point, and that's just 0.052% of the population. So it's still a very small percent of the population. We'd like it to be less, but it's still pretty small. And most people who get it, at least the science says now, most people who get it won't have any ill effects unless you're 60 or older and with underlying health conditions in most cases. So I'm going to go to the next slide. I'll be going through this on each one real quick. Population of California, over 39 million people. Number affected by COVID-19, 2,600, a little bit over. That's just 0.0067% of the population. Again, a very small number. All right, we have the population of Connecticut. Small place, only 3.5 million people there. Number affected by COVID right now, number's 30. That's just 0.00085% of the population. Small number, thank goodness. And then we have Colorado, population of over 5.8 million. Number affected by COVID-19, 591. That's just 0.01% of the population. Population of Illinois, over 12 million people. Number affected by COVID-19, a little over 1,200. That's just 0.01% of the population. And then the population of Indiana, a lot smaller, 6.4 million people. A number affected by COVID-19, 645. And again, that's just 0.01% of the population. And again, these numbers may go up, but the percentages should stay pretty small what we're doing now. Population of Kentucky, 4.4 million. Number affected by COVID-19, 198. That's just 0.0045% of the population. And then we have Louisiana, 4.6 million. Affected by COVID-19, 2,305. That's just 0.05% of the population. And then we have Maryland, population of 5.7 million, number affected by COVID-19, 591, and that's just 0.01% of the population. Just put things in perspective going on. Population of Michigan, just over 10 million, number affected by COVID-19, 400, and that's just 0.004% of the population. Then we have New Hampshire, small place, 1.3 million people population, number affected by COVID-19, 137, and that's just 0.01% of the population. And then we have New Jersey, which is 8 million people, much bigger place, affected by COVID-19, 1,914, that's just 0.02% of the population. The population of Ohio, over 11 million, didn't know it was that big. Number of people affected by COVID-19, 200, that's just 0.001% of the population. Then we have Pennsylvania, with just 12 million people. Number affected by COVID-19, 1,687, and that's just 0.01% of the population. And then we move over to Puerto Rico, it's a much smaller place, with only 2.8 million people there. Number affected by COVID-19, 100, and that's just 0.003% of the population. And then we have the population of Texas, really big place, 29 million people there. That's huge. COVID-19 infected 1,300, a little bit more. and that's just 0.004% of the population. Okay, these are the last two examples I'll be using. I didn't want to put everything there, the video would last forever. Vermont, with a population of a little over 600,000, number of people affected by COVID-19 is at 158, and that's just 0.02% of the population. And then we have Washington State with over 7 million people, and number affected by COVID-19, 2,580, and that's just 0.03% of the population. So what we see here, the numbers seem large, but they're really a small part of the population. And again, we break it down even further. Most people who get it will be fine. So let me go on more details as the slides go on next. Okay. Now the population of the United States is over 300 million. Number affected by COVID-19 at this point is 4,660. I think that number is going to be updated. That was the old number I had off the paperwork. It's probably a little bit double by that. But that's just, we'll double the number just for this example. But that'd be just 0.0033% of the population if we double the number, which is probably more accurate than what it is on here now. So what we're doing is we're shutting down the whole country for something that's affecting a very small percentage of the population. And with most people going to be fine, you need to think of a better solution. I'm going to move on from here. All right, so here's the planet Earth. And the population of the planet at this time is just over 7.7 billion people, which is a lot. And the population of people affected by COVID-19 at this time is approximately 500,000, which is a big number. Not the undercover, but it's a big number. But when it comes to percentage of the population, is 0.007% of the population. So the flu usually affects about 45 million people a year. That's on average, and that's about 0.64% of the population. We don't shut the world down because of the flu. And we have this thing called the CFR, which is case fatality risk. So we don't know the numbers for COVID-19 as of yet because it hasn't been around quite that long, but we've been taking best guesstimate. So right now the flu, according to the CDC, the flu is at 0.01 as far as the case fatality rate. And COVID-19, which is deadlier than the flu, nobody's denying it, is at 3.4%. The flying swine flu, when we had it, was at 4.5%, and SARS was at 11%, CFR. But we didn't shut the world down doing any of those things, and we knew how deadly they were, and we didn't shut the world down. So I don't see the need to shut the world down for this one. And when we're doing the CFR, we need to make sure that the primary case of death was COVID-19, not an underlying disease. It's going on in Italy in some cases, and other places where people have things that were going to kill them before COVID-19. Our COVID-19 may not be the actual case of death, so we need to make sure we're doing these numbers so we don't make people panic more than they already are. According to the CDC, we had 80,000 people die of flu last winter in the U.S. Very high death toll. Don't know what underlying infections there were, but we had a lot of people die, and we didn't shut the world down. So we should shut the world down now. That's why I said, is it an accident or conspiracy? Have people in power, health experts and others, politicians and so forth, using this fear of this new virus to snatch power and get from us, that from the citizens, as well as get power to themselves by spending all kinds of money, setting up new programs, and then making us more dependent on the government, which is always a bad thing because the cost of being dependent on the government is the spark of innovation that we need to keep the country going. If you don't have any need to do anything extra for yourself, just sit around and become a waste, and we don't need more waste. So I don't mean to be repetitive, but I'm going to put this back out here again. The swine flu was something new. We didn't know about it a lot. It was just like COVID-19, but we didn't panic. The country didn't lose its mind. and there were, according to the CDC and so forth, 22 million people were infected, 4,000 dead, no major panic. We just took precautions and kept the toll down. And we can do the same thing now. Keep a calm head and get on with life. The media didn't panic then, why now? And say, I think it's because our media has such hate for the man in office that most of them realize they're biased with their reporting, which is a bad thing. And I gotta ask another thing, who started the idea that people need to buy extra toilet paper? This isn't cholera, which kills 120,000 people every year. Cholera makes it's a massive diarrhea that people don't know. So this is not that, COVID-19 may have some issues, but it's not that. That's not the main effect like cholera, which kills 120,000 people a year. Horrible disease. And why people going shopping buying all this extra food. There is no food shortage in this country. It's an artificial panic, There's plenty of toilet paper. There's plenty of food. There's no need to hoard, and the stores aren't closing. So even if you were quarantined, you can still have somebody go to the store for you or have somebody deliver to you. We have so many things that can make it easy for you if you actually were quarantined, that you couldn't get out. So, I mean, most people aren't going to be quarantined because most people aren't going to even know they have this disease. Most people are going to be fine. I'm going to go to the next slide. Okay, I saw this story about the Senate trying to pass this $2 trillion bill. $2 trillion is a lot of money. That's like half of our budget for the year. And this is for a temporary thing. This is a temporary problem that won't affect most people. I mean, the president's idea to give money to everybody is wrong. And the whole most stimuluses have, I can't think of one that's passed. They've been successful. Most time they fail because they get in the way of the market correcting itself and people being innovative and making new things. So I don't think the government is the key to it. Now, what the government could do, as I say here, is people who the government force out of work. Those are people the government needs to make whole. Like my job was canceled because of the government, so I would be entitled to something because it's not because I wanted to be out of work, it's because the government forced me out of work. And all people who were forced, they should be out of it. But people who were unemployed before then, that doesn't really change for them a whole lot. People who are receiving SSI, public assistance, they don't, nothing changes for them. People on Social Security, nothing changes for them. They are still getting that same money. So it wouldn't make sense to do that. So we have people doing all kinds of crazy things with the money. They're trying to add solar projects to it, and all kinds of new rules and more bureaucracies, trying to get rid of student debt and so forth. Now, I can understand pausing the payment here and there, but to get rid of to cancel everything does not make sense. Something that's going to last a couple of months. This is a temporary problem. All right. The bill should only be one page. It should be money. If whatever money is, whatever amount should go to only businesses, who people were stopped working because of the local or federal government, and that's it. It shouldn't be going anywhere. And then people who are net worth over $100,000, they should probably be out of the cut because along with people who already received their money from Social Security, disability, and so forth. Those people are already getting their money. Their money's not changing. And the people who are still working, they shouldn't be given to everybody. The thing shouldn't be to everybody. The bill should be probably about a quarter of its size. And companies that are big enough like Amazon shouldn't get any money because they have enough cushion to absorb this hit. So they'll be back making money before no time. Everybody will. So that's my play on that, and that's why I think that the president's wrong on this one. And we'll see what the Congress does, but I think they're wrong on that one. So I've done some complaining, but I got some solutions here as well. All right. So the sports industry is frozen. Sports entertainment, many other businesses are frozen, but they don't have to be shut down. So I got a couple of solutions on the left. People could wear things like this where you can still go out and not affect everybody. Cruise lines can be back in. You have to check everybody get on ship, and they're good to go. Planes can do the same thing. Make everybody wear a mask when you get on, and then you just keep it on through the whole flight, and you just go off and go about your business. Now you got to understand that the masks are not designed to protect you from the disease. The masks are designed to protect other people from you. So if you have it, you cough, the mask keeps those particles on you, like when the doctor wears them in surgery. They're keep their germs out of the patient. Okay, now the shields, the face shields, like the one on the top left, that's a face shield. That keeps stuff from hitting you and your stuff from hitting anybody else. So that, lets the stuff goes up, draft up the, through the bottom part, which would be unlikely with gravity pulling it down. So we have solutions to this. We don't have to shut everything down. It'd be cheaper to give everybody masks or shields as opposed to shutting down the whole country for something that, it's going to be over in a couple of months, maybe even sooner. Um, and we know that most people at risk are over 60. So that's what we should focus on. Make sure people who are working near or visiting people in that risk group wear masks or shields so that they won't be getting sick. Okay. In sports, we can do, like I said before, people in the audience wear masks or shields, go to the movies, wear masks or shields, restaurants, wear masks or shields, or even put up little antiviral pop-up partitions around people so we can eat. And, it keeps them in that own little containment box without affecting everybody else. These are my ideas, but this is America. We innovate. We don't let things take us down. So I'm looking for people, somebody thinks of the idea to make up the pop-up partition, make it work. I want 10% of the cut of what you make. Now, a lot of people are trying to make changes in the law. We don't need to make changes that are long-term based on something that will pass in a few months, maybe less, like I said before. We, the American people, understand that the government works for us. We have the power. The government doesn't control us. We control the government. Don't let our employees dictate our lives. I stated above, this is an axiom of empiricism, meaning nobody planned it, but people are just taking advantage of people's ignorance on science, ignorance on the economy, ignorance on money. And we're using COVID-19, many are trying to destroy the economy and create chaos by releasing criminals, not arresting people for crimes like car theft, breaking, entering, selling drugs, and shoplifting. You know, we've had pandemics before, and they will come again, but we don't destroy the economy, and we don't release, not charge people for criminal acts. That's a crazy thing. That just messes up the country. We don't need to. I believe that people in the government and private industry who hate this president are using COVID-19 to get him out of office. Screw how much it hurts the citizens. The rich will be fine no matter what, but changing everything, get rid of one man who have most will be around 4 years versus destroying so many jobs and so much wealth is insane. This is an example of never let a crisis go to waste. That was thought of during the Obama era, and it fits what's going on now. We, the American people, can't let government control any more of our life than they do now. We don't want to become a socialist country like AOC is pushing. Socialism is bad for everybody. We are Americans. We innovate and think of new ways to solve problems. We are not crippled by them. So let's think of new ways to get everybody back to work, get everybody back to being prosperous. It doesn't matter who's in office. All we want to care about is taking care of. So my friend once said, it doesn't matter who's in office. What matters is what you're doing for yourself to make your life better. Because 9 times out of 10, most time they don't affect you directly. So we need to do as much as possible to get everybody back to work. So I'm putting links below, like I said. If anybody's interested or have any comments, please leave them. Don't be nasty. And it's not about politics, it's about American people doing well, no matter who's in charge. And that's what the point is.